Hello everybody. So I'm on here today and my friend Ashley is gonna join, and today we are gonna talk about body work and somatic healing. What that is. Hi Ashley, she's in. What that is and the power of doing that work. Just waiting for Ashley to request to join so we can start talking about it. Hi. Good. I can't hear you. Let me see. Talk.
Sometimes sound is weird. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a great morning so far, and I'm really excited for this live and what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start with a little intro of ourselves and what we do. Would you like to start that?
Perfect. Sure. So my name is Ashley Garcia, and I do somatic intimacy work with women specifically, but also with couples. Everything from being in your body to being able to name and feel different emotions. It's been a big struggle for a lot of people. And then I'm huge in the world of conscious kink and shibari and navigating the intimacy.
Well, we'll wait for Ashley to come back, but I was really getting excited. Let me see. Hello with Ashley. There we go. Oh, you're back. Yes. All right. Last thing I heard was the shibari part, because I got excited about it.
Then it just sent me like this message, and it was like, "Thanks for being in the live." I was like, "All right." So I don't know.
We just started though.
Technology is so fun these days. So I do a lot of work in shibari and just a lot of somatic work. Like, what does it mean to be in your body? When we think of intimacy, what does that look like? And it used to be intimacy just meant sex. And, but what are the depths of intimacy, the depths of getting to know ourselves, getting to know our emotions, getting to know our bodies and our pleasures. So I talk about a lot about pockets of pleasure, pockets of play, and integrating that into our love life with ourselves and with our partner or partners.
That's amazing. Just hearing you, I can feel like the tingling sensations in my body. That's amazing. So a little bit about me. I also in the same line of work, so very similar, but probably maybe we have a little bit different approach. I haven't gotten into much of a conscious kink yet or shibari, but I'm really excited and intrigued. Just seeing your work in, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to dive deeper into it. But I've done a lot of Tantra, so my work is mostly in Tantra, and my practices and my training is in Tantra. I started as a feminine embodiment coach, so the way I used to teach women was just how for them to access their own body, and recently that I actually started offering hands-on work, just because I realized that some people are way far, like trying to explain to them how to tap into their own body, or even guiding them through meditation isn't enough, and just putting myself on them can give them that experience, and then after that it becomes a lot easier for them to tap into it. So yeah, somatic healing, working intimacy, communication. I'm just really fascinated about the body. So I also have a background in personal training, and I believe I read something that for you too, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And I also believe I read something that you're also an Aquarius. So I'm like, girl, we have a lot in common. That's so cool.
We're all fine. So we're all aliens.
We are very much, and like we're the ones that bring all these like new ideas and like the eccentric people in the room.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like when I was growing up, it was really hard for me to be that, but I feel like the more I owned it, the more I like just fell in love more with that part of me of just being very unique and bringing in all the new ideas.
Yeah,
so let's start the conversation of what it is like. What's somatic? What's somatic therapy? What is healing through the body? I believe that's the new concept to a lot of people. So my intention for today's talk is to really simplify that as much as possible. So you can, hop in the conversation at any moment. The way I like to talk and teach somatic therapy is like, so you're familiar with, traditional therapy, which is the talking part, and you work through things on a mindset level, but then you realize that maybe you're still stuck in the same loop or the same pattern and you don't know why, and you're like, but I've done tons of therapy over it. And not until you get into the body, you release it on an energetic and body level. And a lot of times when those releases happen, whether in like a sacred rage or a tantra massage or just making sound or using movement to release it, a lot of times that I notice I don't know what I released, and sometimes the person doesn't know what they release, and part of the process is trusting that you release what you need to. However, when I do an integration session afterwards, for some people it's just important to bring awareness of what are the certain things that shifted. So if we start the practice with an intention, we circle back to that intention and see what in their area in their life shifted in that area, and what maybe awarenesses or things that came into their life, so they can connect the dots a little bit. Not necessarily needing to put a story to what they release, but just to kind of cultivate it a little bit more and integrating it into their life and bringing like more practices to support the transformation that they went through. So that's kind of my way of explaining it, and I would love to hear how you go about it and how you explain it to somebody that is very new to this world.
Yeah, very similar. So I have a background in NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, so it's all about the subconscious mind as well. So
NLP?
A lot of work we do in our minds, and talk therapy, like you said, it can be therapeutic to a level. I did talk therapy for years, but energetically, our body holds a lot more. A lot of people love to talk about for great enough. But there's a lot of energy that we hold in our body that we tend to try to process in our mind. And that's where the physical movement, somatic releases, that's a good place for that to happen. And some people can't put a name to what they're feeling. And so I love a good sacred rage practice, teach sacred rage practices. And it's a way to really tap into whatever the body is holding. And sometimes we don't even realize our body holds tensions in our shoulders and get headaches. Our body holds tension in our back or our knees or our legs. And sometimes that can mean something different than what our mind can process. So I had a Shibari session with a woman one time. She said the only thing that she came out of it was her story. She was like, man, when we integrated after, she was like, I kept feeling this my shins. And she was like, of all places in my body, my shins weren't something that I thinking was going to come up for me. And so, we continued to talk through it. It was for her, where have I been running? And what have I been running from? And so really come back to that awareness life of maybe she found out what she'd been running from and was able to address it. But somatically, she needed to see it, not think about it. And so it's really just getting into the body and really being able to tap into the different energetics throughout the body, what your body tells you. Your body sends smoke signals, and then your mind may be interpreted differently. So just really being able to pay attention and release, like you said, in a way outside of just talking it through, but really getting into the full spectrum of maybe you can talk about it and put a name to it, but then if you can feel through it with your entire body or your emotions or something like that, it just adds another layer of healing and clarity and introspection and reflection, and then provide you a path forward.
Absolutely. I love that. Can you also talk a little bit about like how that work changed you, not just your client, like your own personal life? Because I'm thinking like it really started with us being our first clients. Like what got us into that work to start with, and I think that has a story on its own that's really powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've done, like you, I was big into bodybuilding. I was certified through NASM and did personal training and all kinds of stuff. So I kind of have two different parts. I have a son who's 9, and he had a very traumatic, which left a lot of trauma with me. And at the time, my way of dealing with it was to be in the gym, to release a lot of the stress through my body, through lifting, through doing a lot of stuff. It was just physical exertion. And then fast forward, I realized, once we got through some talk therapy and somatic releasing through that, I was holding a lot of trauma continued from a past relationship that was extremely abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, all abusive for a long period of time. And so my body was holding on to a lot of that trauma still, which was reflected in my current relationship. So my husband and I have been married for 12 years, together for 15. But even in the first, I would say, 5-6 years of being together, there were still times where he'd try to be intimate or super sweet and like touch my face and caress me and give me a kiss, and I would still like jerk away, and I would still have these triggers physically and emotionally to him that had nothing to do with him. He was a safe space, but my body was just holding on to all of the trauma from my past relationship. And so I did a lot of somatic healing to release wound trauma from my birth, where I was holding a lot of anesthetics in my womb. And then I did a lot of somatic healing to release a lot of the trauma from my past relationship. That's where Shibari came in for me, and for my partner, my husband. And we got to do a lot of Shibari work, which was aesthetic, very playful, very somatic, and was a great place for me to be able to safely go within, to face some of my shadows that were still there, and then be able to process them without just sitting in a therapist's office with a notepad going, how are you feeling today? Like, it was hard for me to say how I was feeling because I didn't know exactly in my body where I was. And so to be able to be in my body, especially in rope with my husband, was a great place for me to really, really go within and realize that, we are the only ones who bind ourselves. And then to be able to work through that, to get to the point where I am now. So really, for a good part of 10 years, it's been a lot of somatic work that has led me through a great period of healing to get to the point to be able to help others.
Yeah, I totally, thank you for sharing your story. I totally relate to that. It's never to take away the value of talk therapy, but just to realize that a lot of times, you can talk about something, but then you can talk about it again, and it's till when are you going to talk about the same problem without really moving forward with it? And you're right, there's certain things that you realize your body contracting and you don't understand why until you go really deep. And working with the body for me is pretty much also working with the subconscious, because it's all hidden things. It's in the shadow, like you said, it's the shadow work that you really tap more into, because your body can comprehend I got the story that I overcame this thing, but then in reality, my body's still not responding well to it. And I resonate with you in that, because I still have a hard time sleeping next to somebody, spending the night. We would have intimacy and everything, but then if I sleep next to someone, I would wake up a lot of times during the night. And that's because I had my ex-boyfriend passing away, and I thought he was sleeping, but he was dead. So I knew that this is not what's happening. My mind knows, no matter how much I talk about it. I understand that this is a new story, this is something different, but my body is this is dangerous. You gotta be awake when you're next to somebody to make sure they're alive. Yeah. And it's still a work in progress. It's been 2 years, and just affirming that and going through releases. And even when I did tantra massage and yoni de-armoring, I would just cry, and then there were just waves of griefs and waves of trauma, and I'm oh, I thought I healed this. Nope, you did not. There's still layers and more. And so the work is really deep, and a lot of people, even when I'm working with clients, they tell me yeah, but I got over it. But as a person that's been a practitioner and holding space, I can feel the contraction in their body. You're talking and you're saying, I got over it. You got over it here, but I can feel exactly in your body where you're still contracted, and I know that you need body work for it. So it's just this really powerful thing where even when I'm touching someone in a massage space, like I'm listening to their body. I put my hands exactly where, and the body tells me a story. So like literally I'm not there. It's like something is just like moving through me, and I'm listening to everything that their body is saying, where they're needing to be touched, where the energy needs to be moved. And it requires just like attunement and cultivating a safe space to create that. Which leads me to the question of like, tell me a little bit about your process, whether it was shibari or body work. Like, what are some of the tools or things that you use with your clients and the type of journeys that you take them through?
Yeah, so it's really client dependent. So because everybody's at a different phase and their nervous systems are in different places. And so it was fascinating. I was actually doing some studying and reading earlier. We were talking about like the newest phase, for example, is cold plunges these days. For years, just because the nature of being an athlete, like our coaches used to force us into cold plunges after practice. But so the thing is, you know, yes, it's a good biohack, but some people's nervous systems, they are operating at such a high stress level already, max capacity. So throwing them into a cold plunge actually like creates further stress in their body, and they immediately go into fight. So instead, like taking a step back and going, okay, a cold plunge is something your body can't handle right now. So instead, we're going to take a step back, and we're going to start with just turning the water as cold as you can take it for 20 seconds at the end of a shower. And what does that baby step look like to work you up to where you can do a cold plunge? So using that analogy, it's the same thing with clients. I have some people who we can do shibari or conscious journeys or whatever. Some people literally just need to start with, can you just sit and be still and breathe? Because some people can't even get to the point where they're like just sitting really still and being with themselves for a moment is hard for them. Yeah. Because they're so like being with them tough. So it's really client dependent. So there are times I do a lot of breath work and a lot of guided visualizations that can be really healing. It can take people, especially in a very soothing. I use music as one of my top motivations. People really can connect to different frequencies, different music tones, different voices, all kinds of things. So there's that work. There's different types of movement within visualizations. So there's one energetic practice that I like to walk people through. And it was one taught to me, and then I took my own version of it, of course, because that's how we do things. But it's one where you actually hold your arms up the entire time that you're doing this guided visualization practice and movement. But because you're holding your arms up, you know, from being in the workout space, you can hold a 2-pound dumbbell close to you and it's not that heavy. But if you hold a 2-pound dumbbell out away from you for a long time, it gets heavy quick. Yes. Principle, you hold your arms up of you for a while, and your shoulders are going to start to burn, and it's working through this music. And can you stand and can you be really present with yourself in front of a mirror and eye gaze with yourself with your arms like at shoulder level for a while? And it's fighting against yourself. How present can I stay with myself? How much further can I push my body? What is my body telling me in this moment? And, you know, where am I giving up? Where am I not? What am I feeling? And by the end of it, I have you drop your arms, and then all of a sudden you just feel this release. Wow. And you understand what it feels like to be grounded, because now all that weight that was sitting here immediately takes you down and anchors you. Wow. And so grounded state, and people will talk about all the time, what does it mean to be grounded? You know, and people will say, go outside, put your feet in the grass, you know, and all of that is grounding. But what it really feels like to be pulled down energetically and connected to earth, like that's a different feeling in groundingness. And so by the time we do that release and they drop their arms, some people have tears, some people just have like a vocal release, some people feel an energetic release, like all these different things. And so it's really just all about, you know, where are people at in their nervous system? What can they handle? And then how can I take them there? Shibari journeys are a little bit more intense. We use, from the Tantra world, you'll understand the 4 elements. So, you know, water, earth, fire, air. And there's different ways to move. There's different ways to breathe with this. And you just, you know, integrate rope with that. And then people get to feel, and a more watery, you know, a more like just flowy move. When you're in rope, feel you're being held in your mother's womb. And so, you know, it feels very nurturing, it feels very loving, and it feels like they get to be held. And some people, maybe they haven't been held like that in a long time. So it feels like a hug. It feels, you know, it feels just very nurturing. And so they get to feel what it's like to be in state in their body again, to feel held and loved in their body, because maybe that's something that they've been neglecting, allowing themselves to do, or allowing a partner to do.
Yeah.
Conscious journeys. Same difference. One of the, you know, the more PG version of it is, if people like to be spanked, it can be a kink, it can be a turn on, but also thinking in terms of your energetics. When you're spanked, you know, on your ass or whatever, or your bottom or whatever, how when you keep this, it's actually your root chakra. So a lot of people find that being spanked is actually very grounding, and it helps to put them back in their body. And so there's so many ways that I like to go about it. It's just about the person, where they are in their journey, how much their nervous system can take, and then what modality for them, to really just allow them to release, allow them to feel safe, allow them to feel everything.
I love that. That's on point. Just having a toolbox and really intuitively seeing where the client is at and what they can take and where you want to take them. And at the end of the day, I feel like the goal is always to cultivate safety in the body. And what that means is feeling grounded. And like you said, like you can give a bunch of exercises of how to get grounded, but a lot of people don't even know what it feels to be grounded. And I feel like the simplest way I can put it for people to relate is being able to be present. And because if you're not present, that means you're in your head. And when you're in your head, you're in your fight or flight mode. And the moment you're in your fight or flight mode, that means your nervous system is dysregulated. So this is like the simplest way I can put it for people. Because there's a lot of talk about nervous system and like, what is my nervous system? Like, I'm trying to simplify. It's like, can you be present? Are you here or are you somewhere else? If you're somewhere else, then that means you're not feeling safe. And it shows a lot, especially when it comes to intimacy and sex. Are you there or are you somewhere else? Are you disassociating or are you disconnected? And some of the simplest things that I start with is like the meditation of like, feel into the sensation of the body. Where are you feeling sensation? Don't even try to bring the emotions or the story behind the emotions. Just feel into the sensation of the body. And that right away immediately brings them into the present moment. And then it's uncomfortable because there's sensations that are feeling contracted. But fighting them feels way more uncomfortable than just sitting with them. And trying to constantly bring someone into sit with it, sit with it, sit with it, sit with it, and like reframing that it's safer to sit with it. The easier it gets, the more they realize like, oh, I feel safer to sit with these emotions. I feel like I can hold space for these emotions. I can hold space for these sensations in my body. And then we can go deeper and deeper and deeper into like peeling the layers of what's behind it. What is the trauma that's really causing this? So yeah, some of the modalities that I personally use, just before I move to my modalities, I tried shibari, like not the actual shibari, but just like rope in a play party. And my intention was to feel safe in my body and how to like completely give up control and how that feels when I completely give up control, being completely tied up. And it was really nice. Something just felt like, oh, I thought it was going to be like much harder, but it feels pretty good actually. Yeah, it was really nice, but I feel like there's more that I can access for sure. I was still in the context of a play party and we were being playful, but I just wanted to relate to some of the things that you shared. Yeah. So some of the modalities that I use is, of course, I start with just the with like you said, with where the client is at and what they're able to reach. Just like in personal training, where are you at and where are you able to go and what is your goal? My goal is always for you to cultivate safety and feel more open, because if you're present and safe and grounded, you're just naturally more receptive. And when you're more receptive, guess what? You get to attract a lot of the things that you want in your life and expand in your pleasure capacity. So when I first started coaching women, it was more just teaching them how to access their inner healer. So I would tell them to I would guide them into having a sensual massage of just touching their body, slowing down and listening. Some of them have a hard time, so we have to do that like a couple of times, like insist on them to do it a couple of times. And then there's also those somatic releases, which is the emotional alchemy, whether it's like the sacred rage of screaming or shaking. These are really good in group settings where everybody can collectively do it together. And I found it to be very helpful done in group settings because we actually help each other release. A lot of times when I was in these like ceremonies, when I was leading it, I was releasing for other people as I was shaking. And I was releasing for myself as well, just a collective thing. And then there's also just getting also into the yoni massage, just guiding women on how to do yoni massage for themselves. And I also found some of them have a hard time going deeper just because there's no that mind-body connection yet. Even just starting with the womb connection, right? And I love how you started with womb healing. Womb healing was my first intro to that work. And I remember my coach was telling me at the time is that if you're having a hard time to drop into your womb, it's okay. Because sometimes it feels unsafe. Sometimes it's just an energetic space you've never connected to. So she's like, try to get it at least to your chest and then to your stomach and then to your womb. And so when I start with the women at the same thing, it's easier for them to access it when they're live with me and I'm guiding them, and then giving them the meditation after. It becomes easier. But I always like emphasize on it's a practice. You're not gonna reach there right away. It's a practice. It took me like you around like a little 8-9 years to getting into this work, and it's really a practice. And I remember my coach said the same thing. She's like, it took me when I first got trained with her. She's like, it took me 10 years to reach that level of like presence. So she's like, don't go into it rushing that you're like gonna be able to tap into your body instantly. Right. And then now, like I said, doing hands-on, I found it to be beneficial to give that people the experience so they can access it themselves. But also a one-time experience isn't enough, because the moment that like someone comes and they're new and they're nervous and they're being touched in a new way, and it's like there's sexuality involved in it and sexual energy to move it around the body and all of that. So the overwhelm can take over, and there's also the need for integration in between those sessions. So also doing that as a package session, like, I know this is scary and new, but if you're gonna go into it, let's just go into it. And I really like celebrate people for doing this work. It's really hard because I feel like self-development on the mental level is one thing, and then accessing the body is a whole other level of deep work. And I think it's also fairly new. It's not new as a modality, but it's new as a cultural thing. Yes. At least in my experience. So that's one of the reasons that motivated me to do the live, is just to educate people of like what that is. Yeah. And to open their awareness of like, doing this work is going to change your life. Like, I can guarantee it to you. And hopefully to simplify it in the best way possible to what it can offer you overall. So yeah, that's kind of my approach and my passion behind it. If there's anything else you want to add?
No, I love it. I love that I really want to like double tap, as one of my mentors would say, like taking my pin, double tap on the fact that we both keep mentioning intentions and awareness and attunement, and a lot of people don't understand what attunement are. But really to highlight that, like you said, the mind is one thing. We're told all this, sit and meditate, or listen to your favorite, read 20 pages of your book. Like, these are the personal development we hear on a regular. But to really sit down and be able to access the body in a specific way, and to not be let down if it doesn't happen, but it's to set the intention. And intention really is being how you want to feel when you go into something, or maybe when you come out the back end. And so being at the intention, like you said, like you wanted to feel rope, and you just wanted to be like, your intention to be present in your body and to allow yourself to run control. And so really, like, I love that you said that. So many people are like, I don't know how to intention. It's kind of like, I'm just going to say a mantra because somebody told me to say this mantra, but there's no connection to it. And so really intentionally, purposefully, thoughtfully coming up with something that says, I'm doing this for a specific reason at this time. And, you know, again, just going back to your example, I'm specifically trying to party because I know what it feels like to be in my body and to surrender control. And that's what an intention is. And so really just bringing awareness to that, because people are like, what is it? You know, great, I can get my body just like I can read, just like I can listen to a podcast, just like I can read a book. And it's like, no, let's have some intentions around this. So when you say, I really want to access, then you can be direct with it. I really want to be able to feel like I really want to be able to release some of this tension in my shoulders that I feel like is just constantly sitting here and constantly bothering me. Set that intention, you actually bring more awareness to that part of your body. Therefore, when we're doing exercises, you're able to feel all the different shifts in your shoulders, all the different aesthetic releases, all the different in and around from your head maybe to your waist, like everything surrounding that entire area, because you brought focus and awareness to that specifically. Yes. And so just really, really highlighting that. I love that you said that. And then same thing with creating attunement. A lot of people don't understand what attunement is, and just being able, like, presence and intention, but that extra layer. So like me being attuned to you, just being able to know what is around, is going to be able to tell in body language and movement how we're feeling. If something is like or weird, being on that same playing field with someone and or with yourself. I'm attuning to myself and realizing that I feel really good right now. Or I'm attuning to myself and realizing that, ooh, that was a trigger and I have a contraction and I really want to get away from this conversation and I'm fight or flight on this right now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, really just being aware of where you are in your space in your body and your mind, and being aware if you're with someone where they are. And if you're not, being able to slow down so that you guys can be in the same space. And you, as I'm sure, as a facilitator and someone who holds space, it's so important to be attuned to your client, because then you can understand, like you said before, if they're contraction or if they're shifting, or you can feel intuitively where their body be moved. It's because it's taken the time to be present with them and allow them to have a voice if something doesn't feel like, if something is coming to them, whether it's an emotion or a feeling or whatever. And so really just highlighting those two people who go into body work, they don't understand intentions or attunement. Once we really can like sit down and define those and give examples and those practices, let's attune to one another before we even go into the session. How are you feeling today? What's been on your mind? Have you been feeling stressed? Is there something that's really bothering you? How are you feeling in your body? Do you notice tension anywhere? Do you notice you've been feeling different over the past few days or since the last time we met? You know, and then really being able to sit with, okay, great. Same thing for me. It's been a really busy day today. However, I'm letting all of that aside. Take a few deep breaths together, and I'm going to be very present with you as we go through the session. And so it just creates that safety to feel exactly where you are, that safety to be present with somebody else. And I think that's so important line of work that we do. Really, that's kind of what separates it from just like the personal development, like read a book kind of work.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I just want to add, when you first said, like, I feel pain in my shoulders, as a personal trainer, I had a lot of clients, they're like, I went to like a lot of physical therapy and I did a lot of corrective exercises, and I immediately see what's been held there.
Yeah.
Like, it's an energy thing. And there was one client that was telling me that, like, I've done this and that, and it's been years with this chronic pain, and I've gone to all the doctors. And then I just asked her, like, when did you get that? And just circling back to the moment, and she's like, I massaged a person, it was a no, but I needed the money, and the energy was really heavy, and ever since my right arm couldn't. And I'm like, you need some energy healing. And immediately, like, even though she was pretty new to it, immediately part of her just inner knowing, her intuition was like, yeah. She's like, do you know anybody? And I'm like, yeah. Like it resonated, it landed for her.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the physical pain could also be like a result of emotions that we were carrying that end up resulting as a disease. So like if everything else didn't like convince somebody, I think that in its own is a lot. Like I see a lot of people that have a lot of, you know, struggles with their movement and the way they do certain things or pain, and I can just move it. Like I can see it, I can energetically see it, just because coming from those two backgrounds. And I love the part where you said about attunement, is because I notice a lot of women, especially because our power is in our intuition. So the more we are embodied and the more we're able to be attuned, the more our decisions and everything that we decide can be much more in alignment. I never say I'll think about it. I always say, let me feel it out. Let me see if my body's contracting to this or opening and expanding. And every decision I have made in my life for the past couple of years was coming from that place. And man, have I made the most amazing, expansive decisions that just led me to the most amazing places. It's because of that. And even when I tell women, even when you're going on a date, like first choose where on your cycle are you going on that date, and then second, like make sure that you're attuned to your body, the makeup, the hair, like all of this is important and beautiful. But if you really want to impress, the more attuned you are and present in your body, that will make you stand out like immediately, because it's very rare. If you're in your head and you're nervous and you're thinking and you're trying to come up with the right answers, instead of just being in your body, it just increases your self-worth. Like, I'm here, I'm present, and I know like I'm feeling you out and I'm feeling myself at the same time. And it's very, very powerful. So just on a more like fun way, I would absolutely agree with that. Like the attunement to yourself can help you make decisions, and also make decisions if that person is a good person or not. It's just your intuition, and your intuition is your body. Is it contracting or is it expanding?
And it's a feeling, you know, so many people have asked, you know, or likened it to, if you walk in a room, you can instantly feel something, or like you can tell it's the energy off, or you can tell somebody's like, you know, you can walk into a room and see a couple and you can tell if they've had a fight when you walked in, you know, like they're distanced from themselves, they're maybe their facial expressions, like they're put off, you know, whatever. You can walk into a room and understand who the power players are because of how they carry themselves. Like there's an energetic language that doesn't involve the sport. And that
Yes,
from being attuned, like you said, to our body and to other people. And so the more that you, like you said, the more you're embodied you are, and you are understanding present, and you can walk into that space confidently, thoughtfully, intentionally, then the more that you're going to attract a lot of people to you, just because you have an energy that is like, that's magnetic. And that's why you'll see certain people have like a whole bunch of people around them that are waiting to talk and be a part of the conversation. And it's not that they're like necessarily the spotlight person in the room. They just have an energy that is attractive to them because they're more embodied.
absolutely.
How to do that?
Yeah, even dancers, like she can have the best skills, but I can tell she's not embodied, and it look so different. Like I remember taking dance classes, and the teacher would be teaching the girls how to be embodied. I'm like, I need the skills more, but I got that one nailed down. I'm like, she's such a beautiful ballerina, and she's been training since, but she's just not in her body, not in her body. So I absolutely agree with like the magnetism. It's like the art of feminine presence, of just being in your body, being in your womb, being in your heart. Like not even your sexuality. I actually, like, sexuality can be very attractive, like being sexy and also tapping into your eros, but your heart, when you're like really tapped into the body and your heart, it is just so much more attractive. Like people they can feel it. Like I just want to be around you for some reason. Like, well, I might know that reason. I did a lot of energy work this morning.
Right?
Yeah.
Expansive and all the things, and that is something that is attractive to others.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap up the call. If there's anything else you want to add before we close it.
No, I think it's been fun. It's a great way, like you said, it's just an introduction of what is somatic work, what is attunement, what are intentions, what are the different modalities, and, you know, how we approach it. There's so many different ways. Like you said, this is new practice, but maybe becoming a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more accepted. Maybe that's what it is accepted. Everything for so long, psychology for a long time, everything is about mind work in the psychology. Now, now we're talking, or, you know, Carl Jung's coming back out, and it's, you know, he was all about archetypes, body work and stuff. And so now we're talking more about that than we are, you know, just about Freudian mind stuff. And so, you know, really it's becoming more mainstream, more accepted type of work, and realize that it's more needed.
Absolutely.
You know, you can only go so far with, like I said, there's nothing wrong with talk therapy. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I've done talk therapy in and out for years. But this is something that can really just help to take whatever therapeutic modality that you have to the next level, and really just help you to stay connected with yourself, therefore create a deeper connection with others, which I think right now is what most people are craving, especially post 2020, all of the shutdown, all of more and more people are working from home, more and more people are, you know, working on Zoom and calls all the day than ever before. You know, even with the release of people going back, but people are craving connection at like a deeper, more intimate level, more now. And so having this type of work gives you access to allow yourself to connect to yourself, and then to be able to connect to others in a way that you really truly desire.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ashley, for your wisdom and for your time. And I really hope that this encourages people to explore it a little bit more. And if you have any questions, you can ask me or Ashley for more, and we are more than happy to answer you.
Thank you for having me. I've loved the conversation. And
thank you. All right, amazing. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon. Bye.
Bye.